Right. Hey peeps, morning. So it's a great day. I'm actually on the outside this morning. Um, so I know in the last few months, a lot of persons have been asking me some questions, and I've been getting a lot of messages on my page, personal page, and the Men's Evolve page, as it relates to suicide. Because persons would have known about my encounter with suicide, as well as the fact that I've actually lost some friends to suicide as well. And one of the a few of the questions I've been getting is, what happened and how did I overcome? Um, it's not a story I talk about a lot. As each time I go into it, I become a little bit emotional about it, especially at the fact that I've lost friends as well. So it's not one of them I talk about a lot, but in my upcoming book, it is very detailed, in terms of the encounter. So I'm going to try my best, to share this with you to get through it as best as is possible. So I, like many young people or young person growing up in the Caribbean, we knew for a fact that we had potential. It was instilled in us that there is potential in us. We knew it. We had teachers who loved us, teachers who gave their best. We had family members who would have gone to the ends of the earth for us, just to let us know that we matter to them or we matter. And then if you're like me, you grew up in a Christian home where you were in church every Sabbath or every Sunday, depending on whatever religion or denomination you are. So I grew up in church. I understood, the principles of God and everything. As well as it was taught that once you've committed suicide, then ultimately you will never see the face of God. And so, it is something that I grew up with. I knew about it and all of that. But as you progress in life, you recognize that things, the way you plan them, may not necessarily work out how you plan it to. For me, there were a lot of things that at that point, I had, my own personal goals of achieving. There were a lot of things that I had my vision boards. Then I needed, there were things that I needed to accomplish, that it felt as if, it just wasn't happening for me, when everybody else around me seemed as if they were getting there. I mean, I was working hard, even harder than some of them, but it just seemed like it wasn't happening. Along with that, I was also going through the whole process of depression. And the depression stories, it's a long it has been a long journey, and even now, every now and again, I go through the whole process of depression. But that's another story for another time. But for the suicidal aspect of things, though, I remember I left my family so I'm from Jamaica, for those who don't know. I've left my family in Kingston, and I moved to Montego Bay. Now, when I moved to Montego Bay, I had absolutely no friends there. I had no family member there. So I was moving to a city for a job. I was moving into the unknown. I knew nobody, and all of that. And in moving there, things were going okay for the most part. But somewhere along the line, I slid back into depression. I had a job, but to be honest, it wasn't fulfilling. I would, in the initial process of it, it was very fulfilling, to be honest, but thereafter, it became more of work and stress than anything else. And so I was going to work, not wanting to be at work. And I wasn't the sort of person who loved to jump from one job to the next. I wanted to establish myself, make a name for myself before moving on. And so it was a little bit of mind battle for me to move from one place to the next because of a job. And so I stood in that job for a while. I had a manager at the time who she gave me hell. Like, it was almost like everything I did. She wasn't my man. She's a VP whatever. But she gave me hell. The process was hell. I had supervisors who were coming to me, and they were supportive of everything because they knew who she was and her sort of demeanor and all. So I had the support from them. But even so, I just felt like it was a lot. And then there was my own personal struggles happening. So there was work, there was personal. So it was just a lot happening at that point. And so, I had gone through failed relationships and everything. I felt as if I had failed myself. I'd failed my family. I'd failed the people who I loved. And as such, it was just a lot mentally for me to carry. I thought. So one day it was coming up to I think it was in the August when we had this was maybe about 7 years ago. 7 years ago, actually. Yeah, 7 years ago. It was coming up to the Independence Emancipation Weekend in Jamaica. And I remember leaving work that evening. And before I left work, I said to my then manager, I'm tired. I just need to go home and get some rest. I'm not feeling myself. I'm not feeling 100%. And she's like, yeah, you really look tired. You need to go home and get some rest for real. And so I left work. I remember taking a taxi from my workplace, and I head over to, if you know of Montego Bay, Freeport area. So I left the office. We're in that zone, and I went over to Fairview, and I went to Fairview, Montego Bay. I remember going into the pharmacy, and I said to the pharmacist there was there's this pharmacy there, and I said to her, I'm having headaches and I need painkillers for it. There were, I got me like about 3 bottles. I got me a bottle of Advil, and I also got me a bottle of Tylenol. Because I had intentions. I then went over to High-Low supermarket, same place in Fairview. And I went into the supermarket and I got me a bottle of vodka. To this day, that particular flavor of vodka, I hate it up to now. 7 years ago, and I still hate it now. But I went into the store, I bought my bottle of vodka, and I left and I went home. Now, my apartment where I was living at the time, it's very quiet. So most times, unless you'd see me at home, you would really not know that I'm there. So I went home. I went inside my room, and I remember writing a little note. And I think I still have that note because I have a screenshot of that note up until now. And on the note, I said, to the people I love, and I remembered it vividly, to the people I love, know that I love you right back. Know that I tried. I gave my best. And I didn't necessarily want to die, but I just needed the pain to end. Now, this pain was years of building up. So it was a lot happening. Years on top of years on top of years. Yeah, so it was a lot happening. I wrote the note. I remember locking myself inside the house. This was like a Friday evening. Now, who knows me knows that Friday evening I'm home, but then Saturday morning I'll be ready for church and everything. Fine. I went in, I opened a bottle of the pill. And I had it, and I had my vodka with my pills. I had like over 30 pills all in one, and I had the whole bottle of vodka. Like I literally sat there and I had the vodka, like I drank it like water. I did that. I didn't want to die, but I needed the pain to end. The mental exhaustion, the physical pain, the emotional pain, the psychological wounds, I needed them to end. And I thought that this was the best way to do it. And it almost worked. I took them and I was there. I remember laying down on the bed and I remember saying, this is it. This is time to go. I'm ready. I lay down and that was it. Nothing else that happened between the next 48 hours, I remember, until I was awoken at the Mobile Hope Hospital. When my friends and my ex at the time, they explained to me what took place or how they found me, it was very interesting. They said to me that when I woke up the morning at the hospital, the evening, I had tubes running in and through me. I was actually chained to a bed because I was on high alert suicide watch. They explained to me that they attempted to call me multiple times Friday evening, and nobody heard from me from like about midday Friday, apart from my supervisor at the time. They called me Saturday morning because it was oddly strange that I didn't send a message to say, hey, I wasn't coming to church or I wasn't in church on Saturday. So they called me, they got no response, and so they ended up coming to my house. When they came to my house and they looked through my bedroom window, through the side window, they recognized that I was laying there on the bed. They heard the phone ringing, but I did not answer. There was no movement, no flinching or anything at all. And so they knew that something was wrong. So what they did, they went upstairs, they got my landlord at the time, and he came and he actually cut the lock. And, they came inside. When they found me, I was, frotting from the mouth, on the side of my mouth, whatever. My pulse was so low. They explained to me that I was basically dead. That's how they saw me. I was dead. I was just there lifeless, and so they rushed me to the hospital and so on. In them taking me to the hospital and everything, they explained what happened, and my stomach was pumped. They had to flush my system and so on. And when I finally was awoken, I remember seeing doctors around me. I remember seeing some friends around me. And, people were crying, people were emotional. And I don't think I've told my family. I tried to keep it as, tight as possible where that scenario was concerned, because I didn't want to hurt them anymore. And I knew it would have already hurt them. But when I saw the people I love were there, they were in, or some of them were there, and the tear on the agony on their faces, the tears streaming down. And somebody said to me, what happened? Why did you do it? One of my friends was in there, she was crying. It's like, Kev, what happened? Why did you do it? I remember saying to her in the weakest voice ever, I was tired. I am tired. And she kept asking, tired of what? And I said to her, I am just tired. I'm tired of life. I'm tired of living. I'm tired of feeling the pain. I'm tired of feeling the hurt. I'm tired of feeling mentally exhausted. I am just tired. I'm tired of feeling like I'm not adequate. I'm tired of feeling it was just a lot. And she said to me, something that I think I've echoed multiple times. Why haven't you talked about it? Why haven't you spoken to anybody about it? Have you tried getting help? And I said to her, no, because I honestly don't believe people would understand. Because people see me and they're like, yeah, you have it all together. You know, you have a good job, you have a great family, you have church, you have ministry, you have all of that. You have it all together. So, you know, and then the whole backlash of, oh, you're seeking attention because of this and that. I was like, you know what? No, I'm not going to talk to anybody. I'm just going to end it. It's a lot to process, believe me. Even now, every now and again, I think about it, and I am still in awe that I actually survived it. It means that there is still purpose for me, and that I'm happy for. But I went through the process to, you know, to be here today to tell somebody that you really don't want to die. You really want the pain to end. And I've heard people say, you know, people who commit suicide are selfish and they're thoughtless and so on. Until you've been in that place where you feel like everything is working against you, I don't think you'll ever understand or fully grasp what takes place in someone else's mind at that point. I learned though, and this was very important for me, after, you know, the scenario. When I started going through therapy, yes, I did therapy. And I realized that as black men or black people in general, we don't like therapy because there's so much stigma attached to therapy. But therapy is good. It works. I had to go through the whole process of therapy. Yeah, I had to go through the whole process of therapy and talking about my feelings and my emotions and how are you feeling and what caused you. And yeah, I had to do all of that. And how does that make you feel? And yeah, I had to do all of that. But in talking about it, I had gotten to a point where even when the depression comes on, I find the strength to fight my way out of it all. Because I now recognize that I am truly loved. And even if things aren't going the way I want to, I have people who care for me, genuinely care for me. Suicide doesn't necessarily fix things. It may fix things for you in the moment because at the end of the day, you're gone or you're done. You don't have to face it again. But then think about the people you're leaving behind, you know, who genuinely love and care for you. The people who you can actually talk to, but you didn't talk to. It's a lot to process. I know it's a lot, because I've had to process it a lot. But suicide is not the way out. It's not the answer. And as I would have alluded to in the initial process of the conversation, you know, I would have lost about 2 friends back to back to suicide. And the very same concept or notion that I had in mind that nobody would understand or it will fix everything, those were pretty much the same concept that my friends had. And they made note of it in their letters. I'm trying not to get all emotional, but there is more. There is more in you, and I recognize that people who are called or chosen for seasons oftentimes goes through some of the hardest phases of life. And I say to somebody who is going through right now the depression phase or the suicidal processes or thoughts, find somebody to talk to, somebody you genuinely trust, or somebody who you know is genuine. Find a counselor, go to therapy, it works. For people who have family members who or friends who are or have gone through, the depression stages or suicidal phases, there are a lot of things not to say to people. Sometimes they don't necessarily want you to say anything. Sometimes all they need is maybe a hug or just some assurance that somebody actually cares for them. Sometimes there's not much words, and sometimes words will fail, and so the best thing that you can actually do is just to be there for them. In maybe the last month, I lost another friend. He was like me, very happy, and when you know your friends, you know when they're genuinely happy or they're just putting up a facade. And so the signs are there. Oftentimes the signs are not there. But when you've been there, you know it yourself. But my friend, when he did his thing a month ago, in his letter, he specified the names and everything, and he said, "I've tried on multiple occasions to talk to you, and but y'all, and he mentioned the names. You told me I was seeking attention. You told me it was just a mind issue, I need to get over it. You told me I'm just trying to take the attention from everybody else just to put attention on me." And those were things that he wrote. We have to get to a place where if we believe that we honestly cannot have an honest conversation about it, find somebody else to refer persons to, so that people can actually speak their mind, vent, and get a lot of things off their chest, as opposed to leading down to the road of suicide. Because what was interesting about it is that after my friend killed himself the other day, the persons who we mentioned, they cried and, "Oh, I should have known," and I really don't want to say what I really want to say, but let us be our brother's keeper. Let us find trusted people to talk to. Suicide is not the answer again. It may seem like it in the moment. It is not the answer. You're loved. You're cared for. You're valid. May not necessarily be to the people who you want to be loved, valued, or cared for by, but you are. And so I encourage you to talk. Don't be like me, who used to buckle everything inside. And then it takes a toll on you mentally and emotionally, psychologically, physically even. It's okay, talk, cry if you must. Lay in your therapist's office, like I did, and I cried. Like, I think my therapist saw me at my worst, because I became a baby in those moments. I cried, I cried, when I spoke to her, I cried. But it's okay. You're going to get through this one. You've gotten through a lot worse. You've gotten through all that was sent to break you prior to this, and you survived. So you'll get through this one as well. I genuinely wish that people who would have gone before me, or would have attempted and have failed, or attempted and succeeded suicide, I genuinely wish that there was just somebody there who cared just a little bit enough to say to them, you matter to me, you're important to me, I love you, I value you, I need you to survive, I need you to make it through, I need you to pull through. I really wish that a lot of times we wouldn't use the phrase, had I known, or how comes I didn't see the signs, because a lot of times the signs are there. A lot of times people are crying out for help and we ignore it and we cast judgment. So my encouragement for anyone who is watching today, if you know somebody who is or has gone through or maybe facing suicidal thoughts or going through depression, be there for them the best way you know how. If you are going through it, find somebody to talk to. I have a few counselors I can recommend, both locally and internationally. People who have helped me, along the journey. You'll be all right. You'll get through it. You're not alone. You're loved. You're valid. You're cared for. You're important. You got this. All right? Thanks so much for listening. Go ahead and share with somebody. And I hope somebody else will find the light at the end of the dark tunnel. Have a good one.